Welcome to the GameRamble video review for 7 days, narrated by me, Dark Cloud. As always, the text version of this review can be found on the GameRamble website, linked below. The TLDR for 7 days is that it's a visual novel that starts out like something straight out of a horror movie, as the protagonist, Kanzaki Shuichi, receives a cursed Blu-ray disc from a friend. However, thanks to the exorcism skills of his childhood friend, Shuichi is saved from the evil spirit trying to possess him after watching the disc. This leads to the unexpected development of the female ghost gaining a physical human form and revealing that 6 other girls are trapped inside her. Shuichi ends up with his hands full as he attempts to make the last days of these spirits as pleasant as possible, but it's impossible for him not to grow attached to them along the way. 7 Days is a captivating and well-written visual novel that will stay with you even after the credits roll. Gameplay receives a 9 out of 10. The story is well written and there are enough choices for multiple playthroughs. Graphics receives a 9 out of 10. Everything from the character sprites to the backgrounds look great. Sound receives a 9 out of 10. Full Japanese voice acting for all the girls, and the soundtrack is pretty neat too. The overall score for 7 Days is 9 out of 10. And now for the full review. These days, the visual novel genre is unfortunately associated primarily with adult content, which means plenty of titles gets ignored despite catering to different audiences. One of the titles that deserve more attention is 7 Days by Life Zero and Fruit Bat Factory. At first glance, 7 Days appears to be a horror title, as the protagonist, Kanzaki Shuichi, comes into possession of a cursed Blu-ray disc. Shuichi is not entirely convinced that this disc is the real deal, but quickly finds out how wrong he is. Fortunately, his neighbor and childhood friend, Sarenji Murasaki, has a lot of experience with ghosts and saves Shuichi from a terrible fate by performing an exorcism on the disc. This has the unintended and unexpected side effect of leaving behind a physical form of the female ghost that inhabits the disc. Shuichi and Murasaki are even more shocked to discover that the now corporeal girl, Kikanagi Chiyaku, shares her body with 6 other girls. Like Chiyaku, these girls died under tragic circumstances. The bad news is that while the curse has seemingly been broken, Chiyaku only has 49 days left in the world before her spirit will depart permanently. Thanks to Murasaki's experience with spirits, she is able to grant each of the girls control of Chiyaku's body for 7 days, giving them enough time to hopefully leave this world under happier circumstances than before. Shuichi kindly volunteers to take in Chiyaku and her companions and vows to help in any way he can to make their last days as fulfilling as possible. Although the story is not that unique, it is the characters that really make 7 Days such a pleasure to play. However, as much fun as it is to spend time with the different girls, it's also a bittersweet experience, as you know that there's no happily ever after waiting for the characters. This is something that Shuichi experiences too, as each week he has to say goodbye to one of the girls forever. As emotional as the story is, it's not just doom and gloom. Each girl is given her own chapter filled with light-hearted moments, laugh-out-loud situations, and plenty of charming interactions. Unlike other visual novels, the focus in 7 Days is not on romance, but that doesn't mean that Shuichi or the girls cannot fall in love. It does however mean that the final farewell will be that much harder when it inevitably occurs. In contrast to the typical paths for each character commonly found in visual novels with multiple heroines, 7 Days favors a more linear approach. Each girl is given her own chapter, and once concluded you can move on to the next one or replay any of the previous ones. The game is filled with choices that can be made, so replaying previous chapters help explore the different outcomes. You also need to reach specific outcomes for each chapter if you want to progress to the true ending in the final chapter. It's a straightforward system and worked well, which is a relief as these things can get quite messy in visual novels with branching storylines. From a visual standpoint, 7 Days is a great looking game with plenty of really good art. The 7 girls all take turns possessing one body, but each imparts their own personality by changing outfits and hair color. The other characters, such as Murasaki and Shuichi's mother, also look great, and the game doesn't skimp on CGs either. There are a few slightly risque scenes in the game, but no nudity or need for any patches to restore content. The setting is restricted to Shuichi's house and surrounding areas thanks to a magical barrier the ghosts can't cross. However, there's no shortage of backgrounds as characters interact with each other in the various rooms of Shuichi's house, as well as other places like the main street, convenience store, park, beach and more. Even better, many of these areas are also shown in a different light, depending on the time of day, which is a nice touch. Of course, 7 Days is a relatively new title, so the visuals are in full HD, which isn't always guaranteed for the genre. The audio has been given as much care and attention as the visuals, so you'll hear plenty of background tunes and full Japanese voice acting for all the characters apart from Shuichi. The user interface is intuitive and features everything you would expect from a visual novel, including the ability to quick save, quick load, skip text that you've already read, and so on. Interestingly, there is a button to rewind to the last choice that you have made, but not one to skip to the next choice. Players might also be caught off guard by a few reaction-based decisions in the game, where you need to quickly click on a button that appears. 7 Days has its fair share of genre tropes and cliches, but still manages to tell a very emotional story. Since its premise is so off the wall, it also means that some things don't quite make sense or push the boundaries of credibility, but overall it's a great game. The mixture of horror, slice-of-life drama, and humor, not to mention the emotional aspects, makes it a very memorable title. Seeing the days get counted down for each character and knowing that they're running out of time makes it feel like every moment you spend with them counts. The final chapter also brings everything together in a very unexpected but welcome conclusion. Overall, 7 Days kept us entertained and emotionally invested throughout the 25 plus hours it took us to complete the game. The story could have been predictable but veered off in unexpected directions enough times to keep us on our toes. If you're looking for a visual novel with great visuals, good audio, and most importantly, a moving story, then don't miss out on 7 Days. Thanks for joining me for this 7 Days PC review. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time.